song Berry Lady, I have this electric guitar part during one of the instrumentals. I really like the way I performed this guitar. I kind of did it on a whim, just kind of off the cuff, kind of happy-go-lucky. I wasn't thinking too hard about it, and I got something that I was really happy with. However, I wasn't quite paying attention to my timing nearly as well as I often am, and so I'm a little bit off time in some areas. So we're going to go ahead and fix that as opposed to re-recording it, because I like the actual recording, or I like the actual performance more so. I recorded this with a stereo miking technique, which is why it's a stereo track. But here we can definitely see that we have opportunities to fix it. So to get started, we're going to use some Elastic Audio for this. I'm first going to change the entire track to be in Tix mode. Then once I'm in Tix mode, I can then put it in polyphonic, rhythmic, monophonic, etc. Polyphonic is great for electric guitar because it has many different notes, but this Elastic Pro algorithm works pretty well. Now I'll move from waveform to warp view. Let's go ahead and zoom in. On the track, you'll see it's made these little warp markers at the beginning of every transient. They're very small. If you're on your grabber tool, you can click on them or double click and engage it so it's on. If I move this, it's going to act a little erratically. So what I need to do is put anchor points on the left and right sides of it so that when I move this, this will be a breakpoint and this will be a breakpoint right here. So I'm going to hold shift. And when I click on it that way, it has the center point, breakpoint, or anchor point, and anchor point right here. So when I move, notice how it doesn't move the rest of the track. This will allow me to make very, very nice edits, being nice and crisp and clean with it. So I'll just shift click there to get these anchor points. Let's go ahead and move this one because look at how I'm very clearly too early. So let's move that right there. Notice how I'm not moving the anchor point directly on. I'm actually going to put it right there because if I were to put the anchor point directly on, I've got this blank space. Now my note is late. So we'll just go ahead and move it right there. This one's directly on though, so I could put this one directly on the grid. But let's go ahead and hear it first. So all of those are pretty early. Let's go ahead and just manually move them. I don't want to sync it to the grid because I do want it to maintain some sort of human performance. This one's too early right here. Still too early. Ooh, this one's late. So I'll shift click. Now I have anchor points right here and right here on those chords. When I move this, let's hear that. Yeah, a little bit cleaner. This is a great process for very small movements. If you do big movements, you're going to hear some big digital artifacts. Let's hear the whole thing in context now. Let's hear if there's something else we can fix at the beginning right here. This one's too early. Shift click to make sure I have those anchor points. Move it over. I think that one's too early too. Shift click. All right, now let's hear what we have so far. So there's clearly some other things we need to fix, but it just has to be fine-tuned. For the sake of the video, we won't go into it. For the sake of time, clearly there's still some parts to fix, like this guy needs to be a little bit more on. Maybe this one is a little too early. There we go. That's a little bit better. I'm trying not to get rid of the human aspect of this performance, so I'm not completely quantizing it to the grid. I'm just moving it to make it fit within the song just a little bit more because the performance isn't quite there. But this is a great process for moving small amounts, very, very small amounts. This process can work very well for a lot of different instruments and a lot of different performances. However, it's not always going to work. So in this case, it did, but there's many guitar performances out there where you cannot fix it with this technique, nor should you. You should just retrack the guitar. And that, of course, comes with time and experience as you're in the studio or you're recording often and then fixing or editing in post production. You'll notice things that you can fix and can't fix, and you build on that to the point to where as you're recording and tracking, you can tell, oh, this is such a great performance. I'm going to keep this and I can fix it and it'll be just fine. The more time you spend tracking instruments and then editing them later, you'll start to find the places where it's appropriate to do those edits or where you're just actually unable to make those edits without it sounding completely unrealistic or having all these weird digital artifacts. So as time goes on and you practice this more, you're able to find those moments as you record. You can have thoughts like, oh, this is such a great performance. I really like it, but I'm just slightly off here and there. That's okay. I can fix those little tiny things. And then compare that to having the thought of, oh, this is great. I like this guitar. I'll just fix it in post-production later. And then you get to post-production and you start editing and you find out, oh, I actually can't edit this. But this technique has worked pretty well for this guitar just because these notes are very separated. If the guitar was strumming, this would be a lot more difficult.